Hello students, welcome to Indo-European YouTube channel. And today we have Linnaeus University with us, and Mr. Stephen from International Office is joining us for this session. Stephen, thank you for joining this session, and please help us to know more about your university.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me here. Sure, I will to introduce you obviously a little about Linnaeus University and a little bit about Sweden. So I will share a short presentation with you here, and hopefully that will answer most of your questions. If not, by the end, we will also have a Q&A session, and then obviously you will also have the chance to hear answers to the most common questions that I think that you students from India might have. So I want to start by just sharing this to you. Let's see here. So first of all, this, of course, I'll start with this screen, and hopefully this would now be in presenting mode so that you'll see a full screen of Linnaeus University's lovely yellow color.
Absolutely.
Great. So let me start talking a little bit first about who am I. Well, you already mentioned Stefan Hagman is my name. I work at Linnaeus University. I have a long background within admission and internationalization. So hopefully I will be able to answer most of the questions that will show up by the end. So what will I talk about? Well, I will talk a little bit about Sweden, Linnaeus University, a little practical information, obviously, and then we will have Q&A. And here it says that you can ask questions during the webinar, and obviously that will not be possible due to that we are recording this, and you will be looking at it afterwards. But first, a short inspirational film where you will see a little bit about Linnaeus University and how life at Linnaeus University works out. So hopefully that gave you some insights about Linnaeus University and how life is at Linnaeus University. So now I would like to give you some short information about Sweden, because I know that plenty of you are probably not that familiar with Sweden either. So what can you say about Sweden? Well, Sweden is a very small country compared to India, obviously. Sweden as itself has about 10 million people in population. That would obviously be like a half or third of Delhi. So it's a huge difference, obviously, when it comes to size to country, Sweden compared to India. The capital is Stockholm, and if you search on Sweden generally, you will see that we are top ranked in the world when it comes to innovation, safety, democracy, human rights, environmental friendly, and gender equality. Strong progressive values, which points out rather much what Linnaeus University and Sweden in big stands for. Famous companies, well, I guess that some of you have heard about IKEA, H&M, Ericsson, Volvo, Spotify, and Skype, etc. All of these companies are very famous Swedish companies, multinational, and also speaks for itself when it comes to presenting them. So being part of a university in Sweden will also make you to get some good ways towards these kind of companies. Climate in Sweden. This is something we get a lot of questions about. So I just want to point out that Sweden is a country where the climate is differing a lot from winter to summer. So basically in winter you can have down to -20 degrees and up to 30 degrees in the summer. So we have 4 rather distinct seasons and very different weather. You can see, for example, the picture up in the right corner. That's from our library building at Linnaeus University, and this is taken in the middle of the winter. So make sure that you will bring some good clothing, because you will experience snow for sure. We have a saying in Sweden, by the way. It says, "There is no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing." So that was very briefly about Sweden and situation in Sweden. So if you want to learn more about Sweden, I suggest strongly that you go to this webpage, sweden.se. Here you can find a lot of information and a lot of facts about Sweden in general. If you want to learn more about studying in Sweden, generally, you can go to studyinsweden.se. This is a very good webpage when it comes to generally how studies in Sweden go about. There is a lot of instruction videos, a lot of videos that give you information regarding study life in Sweden, and also you can find all programs and scholarships, etc. on this webpage. With that said, I want to start talking a little bit about Sweden, about Linnaeus University. So Linnaeus University, we are a rather young university. We were established in 2010, actually through a merger between Växjö University and University College of Kalmar. So that made us the 6th largest university with around 35 to 40,000 students actually these days after the corona situation, because we have increased a lot when it comes to amount of students in the last year. And this is based on the fact that we have a lot of distance learning courses and studies. But looking at campus students, you would see that we have around 15,000 students divided between Kalmar and Växjö. Växjö is the bigger campus, so we have about 2/3 of the campus students. Ranked on Shanghai ranking written here also, because I know that a lot of you have these kind of questions when looking at universities. Are you ranked? Well, Sweden as an education nation is very highly ranked. You will see that Sweden as a country is one of the biggest spender when it comes to putting in money into research and education. And specifically when it comes to Linnaeus University, we are 800 to 900 among 18,000 ranked in the Shanghai ranking. So highly ranked and high quality generally stands out for Sweden education. We try to point out that we also are a university where everything in life is possible. Being a broad university which offer basically something to everyone, and also having a very good study environment, new facilities, small secure cities, which makes the total experience and possibility to concentrate on your studies when being a student at Linnaeus University top-notch. So we believe strongly that we have a strong total experience that would give you good possibilities to develop as a person and as a student. So approximately 50 different programs which you can choose among, taught in English. If you would look at all our programs, we have about 250 programs, but as written and said, 50 of them taught in English. 2,000 international students approximately, out of 15,000 full-time students, rather big number when it comes to international students on campus. So where are we situated? Well, we are in the south of Sweden, 2 campuses, as mentioned already, Växjö and Kalmar. 1 hour in between the 2 cities when it comes to train. When studying a program, you will only study at one of these campuses, so you will not be you don't have to travel between the 2 cities. Due to that we are in the south of Sweden, we usually mention that it's better to go through Copenhagen, because Copenhagen has direct train. The Copenhagen airport has a direct train directly to both Växjö and Kalmar. So when traveling here, go through Copenhagen rather than Stockholm, where it's a little bit more complicated to go to Växjö and Kalmar. So some words about Växjö and Kalmar. First, Växjö. Well, Växjö is a little bit bigger city than Kalmar. It has about 90,000 inhabitants, still obviously very small in international comparison when it comes to being from Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, or some other Indian city. So small cities, but that also makes it very easy to live in. You get easily around by bicycle wherever you live in a city like Växjö. Also, being small city means that it's a very green environment. So for example, within the city center of Växjö, there is a lot of parks, and you have several lakes just in the middle of the city. And also surrounding the city is a lot of forests, and that influences obviously the area when it comes to what is strong and both at university and when it comes to companies in the region. So a lot of things is about forest and wood industry in the region. And that means also that we have a lot of research within this area at Linnaeus University. But that's only one of the parts worth mentioning, because you can obviously find everything from business to computer science and natural sciences, etc. One important thing to point out about Växjö is that the campus is more of a US-style campus in Växjö, which means that all university buildings are at one spot, and then you have about 5,000 students just living around the campus. So, Kalmar. Well, Kalmar is a bit different. The county of Kalmar is a little bit smaller, and the city as such has about 70,000 inhabitants. The town is also rather different from Växjö due to that it's just next to the Baltic Sea, and it's a lovely old medieval city. So you have castle just in the middle of the city actually, and also the city is much more older, and this makes it also the area as a big tourist area, both due to that it's just next to the Baltic Sea, but also being medieval and old city. And also, last of all, most sunny part of Sweden. So a lot of people travel to this area during the summer, which means that the city grows a lot during the summer. For example, the Swedish king has his summer castle just on a small island outside Kalmar. Being next to the Baltic Sea obviously means also that we are strong in both natural science, marine biology, for example, and also maritime academy strong at this location. In Kalmar, we used to have a city integrated university, which were spread out around the city, but nowadays everything is located at one spot in the guest harbor, which you can see at this great picture. Talking a lot about student life and about cities, I also want to show you this short film, which video that shows a little bit about the student life at both campuses.
I gotta be honest, when I was coming to Växjö, I was really stressed about this. I was afraid that I'm not gonna fit in.
Just move here without knowing anyone and just starting a new life here.
First few days was challenging, of course, because I came from a very hot country. But then after that period, it's super nice, and the Swedish summer, awesome. This is Nahian. I came from Bangladesh around 2 years ago, and I'm studying Innovation Masters. Living here on the campus, the best part is like there is always something to do. Maybe a fika, or maybe doing some sort of workshop, you know. And we have two different pubs, student pubs. We have a gym here. We have library, real nice library here. So everything is really good.
My name is Natalia Pavlova. I come from Russia, Moscow. I was born and raised there, and I just graduated from a master's degree. I was doing a double degree with my home university, and in Sweden I studied entrepreneurship business studies. What I loved about campus culture is not really common for Russia. We don't really have campuses, and which was cool is that once you're free, you can literally call your friends and be like, hey, I'm going to be over at your place and in like 15 minutes and we're going to watch a movie or do some other stuff, do a taco night or anything. Linnaeus University is very international and you don't feel alone here. You're definitely going to find someone who is going to support you and become your friend throughout this whole amazing trip.
My name's Alice. I'm from China. I'm now studying the International Tourism program. When I first moved here in Kalmar, I joined the introduction week or the welcome week with my student association, like Kalmar S. We have different activities. I get to know my classmates, also like more Swedish people. Here in Kalmar, the student is more involved into the city. Like, for example, if we go out, we're going to the city bars. We also meet people who work in the city. I would say I like the atmosphere that we get in touch with the city people to really know about the industry or know about the society.
It's really nice to actually be out somewhere calm because Moscow is really stressed. I can actually go out of my room and feel the nature, you know. You don't have time for that in Moscow. Here you do have time for that.
With that shown, hopefully you got some insights about how life at in Växjö and Kalmar as a student is. I want to talk a little bit about internationalization at the university. Already pointed out that the number of international students studying at the university is rather large, 2,000 approximately out of 15,000. And I also want to mention that we have a lot of partner universities. So this means also that there is a lot of opportunities to study abroad as an international student at Linnaeus University. So for example, studying a 3-year program, most probably you can go to an exchange study 1 semester at some other international university, and this is also possible when doing a 2-year program, master level. Obviously, among teachers, you will find a lot of different nationalities and a big mixture. And also when it comes to the students in general, you see large populations of different study groups from different nationalities. So Indian students, for example, I would guess that we have approximately like 60 or 70 Indian students studying on the campus at the moment. A little bit about our programs. Well, we offer a lot of different programs as described already, both bachelor level and master level. Having a lot of bachelor level programs is actually rather unique for being a Swedish university. So in this area, we could, for example, offer both programs in business economics, design, computer science, and mathematics. Master level, you can see a very broad spectrum program with basically something for everyone. So you will find business economics, social science, computer science, cultural studies, design languages, mathematics, natural sciences, technology, and engineering. Very broad spectra, both with very specific and specialized programs or with a broader view context on what you learn. Besides this, we also have a lot of single subject courses, freestanding courses, which you can use and puzzle by yourself into a certain course package semester by semester, or for example, studying towards a top-up year for bachelor students, adding on a Swedish bachelor year to your studies. But more about that later. Something I also want to point out is that we have a strong collaboration with IKEA. I think that some of you are familiar with IKEA starting their first store in Hyderabad, and I think Delhi coming up, being one multinational, very big and famous Swedish company. The IKEA have actually their head office very close to Linnaeus University's Växjö campus. So 50 kilometers south of the Växjö campus, the head office of IKEA has its location, and that means also that they have a very strong regional connection, and they, for example, are part of this large research collaboration called The Bridge at Linnaeus University, which we have programs and research which lies under. For example, the innovation program, the master program in innovation through business engineering and design, which is a very unique program which the IKEA has been part of developing. Also worth mentioning is the Capital Family Foundation, which is actually created by the founder of IKEA, and in its regulation it has said that they are to support research conducted in Småland region. And Linnaeus University is the only region in Småland why there is a lot of benefit from this research foundation coming in the coming years. Actually, the foundation has more money in it than the Nobel Prize Foundation. So the university will grow a lot when it comes to research based on this foundation in the coming years. Sorry, scholarships. I know that a lot of you wonder about scholarships, and yes, we offer scholarships. So for master level students, we have this Linnaeus University scholarship program, which would cover 75% of the tuition fee if you are given this scholarship. So the regulation for the scholarship is that you may have to make Linnaeus University as your first priority when applying through universityadmissions.se. And if you do so, we will send you instructions regarding how to apply. So everybody which prioritizes Linnaeus University as first option will get this information sent to them. The timeline will be the same as the other big scholarship program in Sweden, Swedish Institute Scholarship Program. So between 8th and 18th of February, the timeline for applying will be. So the second big scholarship program that you should also look into when applying to Sweden is given through the Swedish Institute. You find information about it at studyinsweden.se, and this is a very rare but very good scholarship program. It would entitle you to full coverage of tuition fees and approximately we would get about 15 students, I think, for this scholarship. So it covers both living costs and tuition fee. So a little bit about tuition fee level. So this year we have actually increased our tuition fees, and this is based on the fact that we haven't done it in 4 years. So it's important for us to have the correct level based on what we get paid for European students from the government. So right now, the tuition fee levels would be like you see here. So 110,000 for business, social science, humanities, and approximately 155,000 for natural science, engineering, technology. And these are the most common programs that we offer, even though you can see that we also offer other areas. But so somewhere in between 110,000 Swedish krona to 155,000. If you take away 10, you can see the approximate level in euros. So a little bit more about why Linnaeus University. I have talked a lot about now different aspects for Linnaeus University, but I want to point some certain things out by the end like this. So Shanghai ranked, as I said before. So we ranked in the Shanghai ranking list, being among the 800 to 900 out of 18,000. Rather good number, I would say. Informal teaching style. Being in Sweden as a student, you will learn a lot about becoming an independent person and increasing your abilities to be critical thinking, curiously thinking, and also how to interact and work in group assignments. Because studying in Sweden is a lot about taking responsibility by yourself, which means that you are kind of forced into growing as a person and becoming more self-independent and more planning driven as a person. And that is something that I know is something international companies look for a lot when employing in India and China, etc. Highly praised university environments. Well, we actually took part of this International Student Barometer in 2014, where we compared ourselves with other international universities, around 700 different. By then, we were top ranked when it comes to facilities. And since then, we have built totally new facilities in Kalmar, which means that facilities have become even better. So totally new facilities for students in Kalmar since 2019. High quality of life. I talked before about both Växjö and Kalmar being small, secure cities with strong nature values just around the corner. And this obviously is something that is important for you as a student, and that puts an extra layer when being a student here. And I don't know how important you know about that these kind of things is, but I would say that it's a very, very important part when being a student, having a stable student life. So I can promise you that you will have a really good total experience, both with your studies and your student life at Linnaeus University. Large community of international students that I talked a bit about. So you will for sure not be alone being an international student at any of the programs you study. I can assure you that you will meet somewhere between 5 to 10 different nationalities in your programs, which means that you will learn a lot from your classmates also, adding on different views, angles in the classroom. Very active student life. We have a lot of student associations, student pubs, buddy programs, friend family projects, etc., going on campus. International student associations that you will for sure take part in their activities. Creativity, innovation, sustainability, equality, and diversity, very strong Swedish values, progressive values that you will learn a lot about becoming a modern and independent thinker through your studies. So how to apply? Well, all applications are done through universityadmissions.se. Last day to apply, 15th of January. Last day to support your application, 1st of February. And that's also the last day to pay your application fee. And then by the end of March, beginning of April, you will get to know whether you're admitted or not. Some practical information, links that could be interesting to look at, learning more about Linnaeus University. You have both lnu.se and lnu.se/studies. And this is actually our new inspirational portal. Due to that, we have not printed any material this year. You can find information on this page instead, learning more about Linnaeus University as a university. If you want to chat with our students, we have actually just released a new platform, communication platform, where you can chat with our students. So students from different parts of the world and also from different programs. Sorry, and if you want to get in touch with us, you can always email us through study@lnu.se, or if you have more specific questions regarding accommodation, you go through international students at lnu.se, or admissions office directly, admission@lnu.se. Also, some social media. Obviously, we are on all different social media, so you find us on both Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and WeChat. So this is a good way of learning more about student life at Linnaeus University generally. Yeah, that was actually what I had when it comes to presentation. So
yeah, absolutely perfect. So thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much for the all this information. I think this is very important to understand what student is getting in a university. And as you said, that students live in a US-style campus where all the students live nearby, which means that that's making a lot of difference, because traveling really makes a lot of difference when it comes to student dormitories. And I believe, so before we start our FAQ round, I think if we can cover the one slide once again on the admission side, if we can go through all the programs and the admission requirement, because a lot of students comes to us and they ask us whether they qualify for Linnaeus admission or not. And I know that there's certain programs which have a very specific requirement. So if we can go through that slide one more time.
Sure, otherwise I could show you the programs that we offer directly, and then we can just, I can point out how you find more information about it.
No problem.
So let's see here then. I will share the screen where you find all our programs here. So you find here all our programs. I have just listed them. So you go to lnu.se, education, search program and course, and then you can filter what we offer. So as I described before, we have a rather broad spectrum of different programs, as you see here also. So basically a little bit of everything.
So basically, students, you have to understand a difference between courses and program is a program is a full degree program, whereas there could be a small course of 30 ECTS as well available on the university website. Please make sure that if you are going for a higher education, you would like to have a master's degree, it has to be minimum 1 year and or 2-year program, which is 60 points or 120 ECTS points. But if you are also want to go for a short-term course, it's possible to go for a short-term course with Linnaeus University by taking the course. And each course will be a specific ECTS points, which you can see on the website also.
And I can also point out a little here about how it works with the requirements. So for example, when it comes to master programs, we always demand that you have a 4-year degree from India. It should be a bachelor degree. It sometimes are accepted also 3-year degrees, but in that case, it has to be like an honors degree. And this is a bit problematic, for example, for those of you coming from business, because rather regularly you do a 3-year degree, which is not accepted in Sweden as equivalent to a Swedish bachelor. And because of that, you also have to add on an extra year. So that could be problematic for some of you, but 4-year degrees are generally what we demand for master level programs. And that's only the general entry requirements, because beside that, we usually also demand that you have to take an IELTS, an English test, due to prove your level of English. And then also it might be specific requirements for each program also, depending on what area they are in. So for example, on this program here that I show now, Master in Economics, we demand that you also have like a bachelor degree in economics or business administration or another social science or natural science area. And you need to have a minimum of 90 credits in economics. So it can be rather tricky sometimes to understand the specific requirements, and it could be rather strict what's needed in order to be admitted. When it comes to the general requirements, a good point of view to look at that could be to go through university admission and search on India here. You see, you can search on India, and then you find the exact requirements needed for Indian students. And this is when it comes to the general entry requirements. But then, as I said, also second step is obviously also to look at each program and see what requirements we demand. You see here, for example. Looking at another program, and then you see basic eligibility for second level studies. So that's basically a bachelor degree, and then you should have credits in biology, some chemistry, and English for this specific program.
So Stephen, students can come for even courses, and if the courses is less than 30 ECTS, they won't be able to get resident permit as per the Swedish immigration law. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
correct. So basically, in order, if you apply for freestanding courses, which you can do, for example, if you want to puzzle together and get like a top-up year that we sometimes talk about, you need to study semester by semester. So it basically like studying freestanding courses, a flexible option, but it's something that you can only apply for 1 semester residence permit for. So you apply for several freestanding courses, and as described by you, Deepinder, you need to be admitted by at least 30 credits in order to apply for residence permit for 1 semester.
Great. So in case if I'm coming for, I want to study 2 courses, altogether there should be 30 ECTS in one shot.
Exactly, because in Sweden, basically what a program is, it's put together by courses, and that's obviously the same in every country, but then also it's possible to study a lot of freestanding courses by yourself and puzzle your own degree together. And that you do by studying freestanding coursing and deciding exactly what you want to study by yourself. And then it's also important that you look into the study pace and everything and what weeks certain courses are given, so that you do not end up with like 300% of studies during the first 5 weeks and then nothing more during the last part of the semester.
These courses which we see on the website, we all know that the first round of deadline is 15th of January, and
Yep.
post first deadline, the result comes out in early April. Post that, students also get, sometimes some universities have second round as well on certain seats where the scholarship is absolutely not possible, because I've been told by a lot of other universities also. In your case also, does this go the same way, that students who apply post 15 January, they will not have any chance for scholarship?
That's correct. So 5th of January, you have to apply before in order to get the chance to get the scholarship. And then, as said, we obviously do like late applications and late admission also, but it's all a matter of where we have places available. So if you apply late for a popular program, it's no chance to be admitted.
Okay, so the first round itself is good enough for the applicants.
Yes.
Great. So students who have interest in engineering, in business, you have a lot of opportunities with Linnaeus University. So Stephen, when we talk about the students with the 3-year bachelor degree program, I want to be very specific on them, because a lot of questions comes to us and we talk about them. So let's suppose, say, if I have a 3 years bachelor in business studies, which of course do not qualify me for the masters in the Sweden. It doesn't matter which university. So if I do my 2 semesters with you, two 30 ECTs with you, am I eligible for masters?
You are not eligible for a 3-year bachelor in business. So unfortunately, in that case, you need to apply for like a top-up year at Linnaeus University, and that you do by puzzling together 2 semester studies, basically the autumn and the spring semester. And in some of these cases, we offer rather specific courses, like, for example, bachelor course in supply chain management, which is like a first part of a top-up year. So here you have like the part 1 and part 2. So this kind of setup ends with a thesis, bachelor thesis. And if you finish these 30 plus 30 credit courses, you can get a like a bachelor degree in business administration, supply chain management from Linnaeus University. And this entitles you to apply further to master programs at any Swedish university or European university for that sake. We have that kind of solution in several fields. So for example, in management and some other parts also.
Okay. When we talk about the IELTS requirement, it's going to be 6.5 at the bachelor and master's both level.
Yes, it's 6.5 in all levels. I mean, if somebody wouldn't reach that level, we also have a preparatory English course, which you could study, and based to be admitted on that course, you need 1 year of university studies and 5.5 at least from IELTS. And if you study that 1 semester, then you can go further in studies at Linnaeus University at that demand 6.5.
I was about to ask, this is going to be a very important question for us, because a lot of students were coming to us for this particular program with an IELTS of 6.0. So we told them, they have 3 years of bachelor degree, and they have 2 years of master degree as well, and they have an IELTS of 6.0. So yeah, we talk about a lot of student comes to us with this 6.0, and we recommend them to go for this English program, because I believe we both have an understanding that student with 5.5 can apply, but it's always good to have 6.0 applying for this program. So
definitely,
when we made this application just last year itself, I would say this year itself, we saw that while making the visa application, it says that you have a high risk of visa resident permit refusal. That was coming on the website of the immigration. Now, this was a kind of a situation where we got confused. So what was your experience in terms of this particular program in this year? How many students applied, and how many got refused, and how many got the visa approval on this specific course?
This year is very hard to talk about due to the corona situation, and that has messed up a lot when it comes to everything regarding getting resident permit and not. So I wouldn't say that this year is good to compare with, but generally we don't see a large number of refusals, so we see some.
Okay.
So all about what your study intentions are. If a student has true study intentions, then it's not a big risk, because it's more about what the long-term plan is after the course. We have seen the misuse of admission to this course from students from Pakistan and Bangladesh sometimes. And because of this, I know that the Board of Migration are sometimes a bit restrictive. But the main thing that they try to point out is that you will most probably go for an interview at the embassy if you're admitted to such a course.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is fine, because student has to speak. We do understand student need to have an IELTS of 5.5, but 5.6 is of course good. So when we talk about such students, these students who are coming with this for this course, they actually qualify for, there are two kinds of student. One is the student who only coming for this course, and second student actually qualify for your master program. So when you see the admission to the student on this particular program, do you see that what he has done in terms of whether he is your potential applicant for next intake, or you just give him the admission for that particular program?
It's only for that particular program, but obviously we look a little bit about how many credits the student has previously. So the longer somebody has studied, the better chance of being admitted. So I would say that if somebody have like a 4 or 5 year degree, 90% probability to be admitted. Okay.
So basically, student who have a degree of 3+2, and he wants to study with you with the 6.0, he comes there, he do this program, and now he wants to do the master's degree program. So is it possible to get an admission letter for the next program in advance, or he has to make a fresh application?
Fresh application, unfortunately, due to that our Swedish admission system doesn't really allow us to puzzle these two different programs together. So, and they also do that early admission, and therefore he has to apply for the second round also for the master program, and then we can give like a conditional admission based on that he is in ongoing studies for it, preparatory English. So it will be like a residence permit application first for 1 semester, and then the next time he can apply for 1 to 2 years.
Now, most of your courses don't start in January; they start only in September, once in a year, which means that student has to do has to fill up something something related to his next education in the month of January, so that he can actually stay back in Sweden, and then he can apply for the next intake, which is
if student applies, if student applies for the autumn semester, because we offer this particular course both spring and autumns, and for somebody who needs this course for the further master studies, I would suggest that going for this course for the spring semester and then directly to the master after that, and that means no gap.
Okay. And do you think if I say to students who have 5.5 that you go for this 1 semester and then do 1 more semester, and do a year program, because 5.5 to 6.5, we both know that 6.5 is actually needed to do a master degree program anywhere in a good English speaking country. So you think it would be a wise decision or wise suggestion to give to a student who has 5.5, asking him to go for 1, and just after that he can do another 1 as well, and this way he can have this 1 year of English, which will give them a better command on the English language.
Yeah, we are about to offer actually that kind of course, which is more about increasing your level of academic writing, and also maybe possible to puzzle together with learning some Swedish.
Okay, super. That's great. So that was good enough information for the admission point of view. When we talk about the practical thing, let's say accommodation. Now, we talk about Kalmar campus, or you have the other campus, Vaxo campus. In both campuses have your own accommodation, or how does the accommodation work?
As it is right now, we have like a first come, first get. So, and as it's been all time so far, it has always been like a guarantee at both places. There are actually some adjustments being done in this, because we have had a lot of empty accommodation due to that we have block rented through the university, and therefore I know that there might be adjustments, but right now, yes, we have like a first come, first get, which would be equivalent to a guaranteed accommodation on campus in Växjö and in city in Kalmar. But in order to get that, you need to follow the timelines of doing things in time. Everything from application to accommodation application have to be in time in order to get that guaranteed accommodation. Besides that, though, I want to point out that it's important for students to place themselves in the housing queues directly towards the housing company, because it's important to add on all alternatives, and there is very good chance of getting accommodation directly through housing company also if you just put yourself in the housing queue when applying for a program. Because in Sweden, generally what we do is that we have a housing queue where you earn a point for every day you've been in the queue. And the longer you've been in the queue, the better chance you have to get an accommodation. So you should both follow the timeline of the things done directly towards the university, but also towards the housing company directly to increase your chances of getting accommodation. Because we don't want a situation where you show up here without accommodation.
So as a student, I made an application for Linnaeus University. I get admission confirmation on first week of April. This is the time when I have to start my housing queue, right?
That's for the university. For the university timeline, yes, because that's when you get some information. But for the other one, directly to the house, towards the housing company, I suggest that you place yourself in the queue directly when you apply to the university, because it's good to be in the queue, just earning points.
So let's say in January itself, I put myself in the queue. And I put myself in the queue for the 1st of September onwards, which means that I have to sort my admission and visa, everything in advance, because if I say 1st of September, they will consider that I will be there by 1st of September, and my rental period will start from 1st of September. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. And I can define exactly when do I want the accommodation. Or they have some stock?
Yeah, it's the thing is, when you apply through a housing company directly, you basically start your search when you want to start your search. So in the housing company's queue, it's not so much about getting an offer at a certain time. It's more about showing interest for housing, available housing, when you want it. So it takes a little bit more effort by yourself. But it's more flexible, and it will be a long-term commitment, long-term housing, because the one you get through university will only be a 1 year guarantee. The one you get through the housing company will be through your full study period.
So if I have a student who's coming from a master degree program, planning to bring their spouse and the kids, this is what we should do immediately when they're with us for the application.
Yes.
So we make it a process within our company itself. That's a good information, actually, because
also through the university we will mostly be able to help you with dorms, and that's in dorms it's not possible to come with the family. If you apply through the housing company, you will have the opportunity of applying for flats, 1, 2, 3 room apartments also. And that's obviously much better when it comes to coming with family.
The cost of living in these housing companies and with your dormitory, which is cheaper?
Dorms is obviously cheaper due to that it's less space and they share your kitchen. But if you would like to share accommodation, then I would say that flats are better, the one through the housing companies, because for example, having a 2-room apartment, sharing it by 2 persons, sharing kitchen, that will be lower cost than living in a dorm.
Okay. When it comes to bringing the spouse, of course, we have done a lot of spouse visas. We have a lot of students who've gone with. So from my point of view, I'm pretty clear. But I think a lot of students wanted to hear, the version from the university side, because that makes more authentic. So if a student is going to bring his spouse, I normally and I strongly recommend that students should first go themselves, and then they should bring their spouse probably even after 1 month of the landing there. Once they sort their accommodation, their basic things, and then bringing a spouse is much better. Do you think applying together is a better option or applying later is the better option?
Traveling later obviously is better for family, because traveling by yourself in the beginning as a student is strongly recommended, because there is a lot of adjustments, a lot of things to take care of in the beginning of the studies, and having a family that you also have to take care of in the beginning is obviously putting a lot of extra pressure towards someone. For example, if you don't have a good accommodation, you haven't fixed with all furniture, you haven't got into everything. Maybe you need to arrange with a school placement or something like that. These are the kind of things that takes some months to solve sometimes. And then therefore, I think it's very important to offload yourself, because what happens otherwise? Well, the thing that happens is that you get too much pressure on you when you are to perform in your studies, which might mean that you miss out the first parts of your program, which the rest of the program is built on. And that might mean that maybe you miss the first semester, and then it's complicated for you to catch up with the studies, which means that you need to re-register and maybe study the full program from the beginning again, making you stay in Sweden an extra year, which is a large extra investment. So offloading yourself with coming by yourself, I think is strongly recommended, because it will increase your chances of following the studies in the beginning, and also having a smoother landing.
True, and I completely agree. I think there's another reason to it, which I'm very vocal about, that when you apply with your spouse, as compared to a single student, you are actually giving a reason for refusal also. I have seen that there are certain people who had got refusal. They were good students, absolutely no problem. I didn't see there was any problem with the student profile. But because they have 2 kids, they have the spouse, and the whole family was migrating. And for some reason, I was thinking, that because of it was not looking as a student is going for the education, was looking at it more as a family immigration. So this also, I think, play a role up to a certain extent. Do you think so as well?
Yes, for sure. And also one thing to point out, coming to Sweden, it's not like a short-term commitment, 1 semester and then finding a job. Because, the kind of job that you can find just getting into Sweden is not the kind of job you want to get in the long run. But if you finish a degree in Sweden, let's say that it's only a 1-year degree, still that will entitle you to one job you can find based on a degree in Sweden is obviously much better than the ones that you can find not having a Swedish degree at all. So you increase your chances of having a long and steady commitment to living in Sweden for a certain period, or maybe the rest of your life, if you finish at least a 1-year degree in Sweden first.
Great. I think when we talk about the opportunities in Sweden post-education, so students are allowed to stay back in Sweden as well. How long is the stay at the moment?
If you finish a degree in Sweden, you can stay for 1 year to find a job. If you find a job at this stage, there is no limitation to what kind of job it is, as long as you earn a certain wage. You usually get like a 2-year residence permit if it's a permanent position that you have found or not time limited. If you still have the same job or another job after 2 years, they extend your residence permit with another 2 years. And then a working permit, residence permit, and then after that you would get a permanent residence permit.
So basically, once I finish my education, I have to find a job for that when I have 1 year, and post 1 year. So in total, I have to spend 4 years on work visa before I can get my permanent residency in Sweden, in short.
Yep, that's the general situation.
And the Swedish language is required as mandatory when you get permanent residency? It's not. Okay.
No.
Great. I think this makes Sweden and Finland 2 very specific, countries in European Union, where this shows exactly how English is widely spoken in the country, because many of the countries have this rule that before you apply for permanent residency, forget about the citizenship. Only for the residency itself, you have to have the minimum B1 level, whereas Sweden and Finland both doesn't have this.
Yep.
That's something make both the country very different, and I think very welcoming for international immigrants as well, because a lot of technical skilled labor is required in both these countries. Do you think the same thing as well?
Yeah, it's very similar, both Sweden and Finland, when it comes to this. And I would say that, for example, we are lacking rather much from engineers in all of our in all of Europe actually, but specifically in Finland and Sweden. So being like, I can also point out and mention that the most common work permit seeker in Sweden is actually the employee who has a computer science engineering background. So because we're lacking a lot from programmers in Sweden generally these days, and that means that that's the most common work permit applicant those days. So and that's obviously means also that these companies they don't demand Swedish, so they only ask for you to be English speaking, and that means that they are ready to hire you basically.
Great. Stephen, thank you so much for a lot of information. Thanks a lot. It was always nice to do this kind of session with you, because it's always you add something new every year by year, and that's the reason why I'm always coming back to you for this session. And most likely we'll be doing one more session post the first application deadline. Let's see if student has certain questions. Student,
Sure.
thank you for joining us and watching this video, and we'll be happy to help you with all kind of information you required for Linnaeus University. Please note that application deadline is 15th of January, and you have to apply within the first application deadline if you want to apply for scholarship, because post deadline you may get admission into certain programs that will happen only in April, but there's no chance for the scholarship.
Correct.
Thank you, Stephen. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Nice speaking to you all. Take care.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.